Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very first episode of Hacking Visual Studio. I'm very excited. My name is Matt Kristensen, and this is the new show where we're going to hack Visual Studio. We're going to write extensions. We're going to dive deep into sort of the inner workings of Visual Studio and see how we can manipulate things and make it better for our workflows. And, there used to be a show not that long ago, like 2 months ago, called Writing Visual Studio Extensions with Matt. And that is kind of the old chapter, and this is the new chapter. But there are certain things that are the same, such as the very talented producer, Mr. James, who is with us yet again. Hello, James.
That's me. It's good to be back, Mads. I missed you. I missed you so much, and I'm real excited about this new show because it's not only the two of us together yet again, but it's completely different, but kind of the same, but a little bit different, but also completely different. What is this new show all about, Mads?
It literally is about extensions still, right? We want to make sure that we have a dedicated place online where there's somewhere to go for people that write extensions, that are passionate about extensions, or who want to learn more about extensions. They still want to come to this show. This is the show for them. In addition, there's going to be some episodes, I think, that are going to be maybe not so much about extensions, but still about sort of the inner workings of Visual Studio, diving deep into the technical side, maybe even interviews with the architect of Visual Studio or some of the engineers that are working on interesting things that can help us better understand Visual Studio. And if you're an extender, will help us understand more about why certain things are the way they are on the APIs. Well, we're going to talk to the engineers that maybe made those decisions and finally get some answers as to why things evolved over time to be what they are today.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of new format, new show gives the opportunity to go beyond what was just only writing Visual Studio extensions, right? And that was it. So I'm really excited for it. And we have a lot of big plans. I know there's a lot of people in the chat. So super appreciative of everybody coming in, super excited with the good vibes along the way. So it's super cool.
Yeah. And we did have a long break. So this was just an opportunity. I went on paternity leave for a month and a half. And so the show did not happen. The extension show didn't happen for a while. And we decided, hey, when I come back, let's just do a show. Let's do a little bit different the show. Let's take what we learned from the first go around, from the first 39 episodes, which are still on YouTube and Twitch. So go check them out there. We'll take the learnings from that and say, okay, how can we make the show a little bit better? And I think that's where we are today. But this first episode is going to be very much following sort of the exact same flow that the old extension shows did. So as usual, feel free to use the chat. Write any questions about today's topic or any Visual Studio topic, or if you want to know where James buys his hair products or whatever like that, you can ask those things as well. But what we usually do first is that we do the news. And James has a little thing he's been working on. Let's see it, James. Awesome. That is fantastic.
There's gonna be much more. We made that 1 minute before this episode, so there's gonna be a lot more. Just wait for this.
Literally, it took him 1 minute in PowerPoint to do transitions just for the fun of it. But it's very cool. Very cool. Okay, so in news, so I've been out. I've not been at work. I haven't been talking to a lot of people. And so the news are, I guess, a little few. However, some things have happened that I think is worth talking about. And actually, one of those news item is what the today's show is as well. Oh wow, news time! And then is that an emoji? Yeah, that's a Unicode character. Okay, so we can only do characters. We can't do like a picture. It has to be a sort of a Unicode. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
I see. I've already disappointed you, Mads.
No, not at all. I'm sorry if it sounded like that. It was just a question. I was just curious. All right. So a couple of new things. So the v6cookbook.com, that's what we're looking at here. James, if you can share my screen. So the V6 cookbook is sort of our attempt as the extension community to revamp the documentation for extensibility, right? We all know that the documentation for writing extensions have been like lacking at best. It sucks basically, and it has for many, many years for various different reasons. There are a few gems in there. There's a few things that are relevant and well written, but the majority of what's there is not good enough. So the V6 cookbook is to say, hey, what if we took a brand new greenfield look at documentation and then applied that to extension authoring? And that's what we got here. We got some getting started guides. We got some recipes of how to do tool windows and theming and all this sort of stuff. And that's very cool. So what's in here, what's new in here is that we are talking to the official documentation, the PM, Leslie, the PM of extensibility, and whoever owns, so Jose, who owns the documentation website, docs.microsoft.com, for Visual Studio, the Visual Studio part of that, to see if we can move basically V6 Cookbook over to be the official documentation for Visual Studio extensibility. Just imagine how cool that would be, because this is all grassroots stuff. This is all something that just came out of the community, and we got the go ahead. We got green lighted. So greenlit. We got greenlit. So there's now items. I think they're going to start. If they got time, it might be as early as October, but otherwise it will be sometime in November, maybe, where they're going to start porting over the markdown content and those sort of things, and start archiving some of the other old documentation that is no longer sort of up to date or fresh, if you will. So I'm super duper excited for that. I don't know of any other effort that started in the community that made this transition into being a kind of the official thing as seamless as this have. I'm very proud of that, and thank you to everyone who has participated in writing these docs. And if you still want to go ahead, go to v6cookbook.com. At the bottom, you can say edit this page. You can report. That takes you to GitHub, basically. You say edit this page. It takes you to the GitHub, to this particular page, and you can just kind of edit it directly here. But you can also contribute in other ways with issues or PRs or whatever it might be. So that's super cool. So that was news item number 1. News item number 2. So notice here how across these pages here on the cookbook, I have these videos. Here's kind of a welcome, then about like getting the tools, like getting the extensibility essentials extension, how to write your first extension, like how to just kind of get over that initial hump. We got more stuff here for tool windows, how to deal with settings, and there's more stuff, like there's checklist. What else do we have? Marketplace. I actually just did marketplace, so there's a video there too. Anyway, I think that's really cool. So we get both the written word and we get the video walk through, so you can see what's going on. And all these videos, I didn't just make them so that they would be like for V6 Cookbook and for the official Microsoft Docs. I also made them so that we could put them in a playlist on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/Visual Studio and you go to playlist, you'll see here I created one called VS Fundamentals Extensions. I don't know if this is going to be the final word for this particular playlist, but the idea is to create a playlist on YouTube where we can add these single niche isolated tutorials for like a specific thing about extensibility. And so if you have any ideas, you see here we got like different things, right? Options, create tool windows, best practices, extension packs, publish to the marketplace. But of course, there's so many more topics here. How to do single file generators, for instance, or interacting with the project system. It could be whatever you might think of that would be helpful. And so my plan is to start creating basically a bunch of these 1, 2, 3, 4-minute videos. And so reach out on Twitter or on the V6 Cookbook, create some issues on what you suggest that we should do for videos. So so new online content on YouTube. I'm very excited for that too. And James, I believe that was the news. Yeah. Oh, so we used the same outro. Shouldn't it go the other way?
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually just redid it, and now it has about 100 emojis in it. So I'm very excited about that.
Okay, maybe we get to see it before the end of the show.
Okay, we'll see what I can do.
Okay, no pressure. Okay. Okay, so and here's the actually that was okay. No, today's topic. We need a slide for that too, like a transition. Today's topic. Oh boy. Hey, buddy. All right, we got a 5-year-old here running around. Wesley, I'm recording. Do you mind? Can you see what Mama's doing, please? Thanks, buddy. We'll play afterwards. Real life in action, right there. So, all right. So today's topic is the DTE and its compatibility with Visual Studio 2022, and it's kind of a news item as well. At least it's news to me. So, on this show earlier, or on the extension show earlier, we talked about how the DTE is not compatible between Visual Studio 2019 and 2022. But the DTE2 was. DTE2. And that actually made it so that I could port most of my extensions very, very frictionless to also support 2022 without having to split them down the middle. So I had to make like 2 extensions, one for 2019 and earlier, and one extension for 2022 and above. Because I kind of used the DT a lot, and that was the one thing that wasn't compatible. And I just changed all my instances to use the DT2 instead of DTE. Problem solved. And I think I have like 30 extensions that are like that, where I just had to upgrade to DTE2, and that was fine. That was it. The end of story. My extension now works on 2019 and 2022. Now that was true up until no. So that was true for a while. But it was never recommended by the extensibility team, and I kind of was not sure why that was, and I was kind of a little bit frustrated with them for saying, no, you always have to split your extension, because clearly you didn't have to. So why ask our extenders, who we love and admire, why ask them to do more work than they have to? Well, it turned out that the DTE2 was not compatible. What happened was that some of the workloads in Visual Studio, some of the components had a binding redirect, so that if you used the DTE2 even for from the 2019 VS SDK or earlier, an earlier SDK, it would automatically make binding redirects up to the 2022 version of it. But those were considered bugs. But that was why it worked. That was why my extensions worked, because of those binding redirects. But those binding redirects are no longer there. And they can't be there because I didn't use all aspects of the DTE to find issues, but there were issues in there that were not backwards compatible. So now they have severed those binding redirects. They're no longer there. We as extenders can add them, but should absolutely, definitely never do that, because we're going to ruin it for everybody else, including Visual Studio itself. So don't ever add a binding redirect for a Microsoft assembly, because you're gonna affect everyone else on the system. That means Visual Studio itself and every other extension installed. So never ever do that. But anyway, that was basically the issue. So now I got this nice email from the extensibility, the engineering lead, and she said, that's Tina. And she said, hey, you got these 30 extensions, and they're all marked as if they can be on 2022 and 2019, but they can't. And we're going to make it so that they won't install on 2022 in whatever the current version is right now in the marketplace. Once you make an update and the version changes, they can be installed again. But they just want to make sure that no extension that falsely claims or ignorantly claims, as I didn't know better, that they support 2022 actually won't be able to install. That makes sense. I think it makes sense. It's a little frustrating, I admit, but I'm now faced with these 30 extensions. I have to update them. I have to make sure that they work properly on 2022, or that I just strip 2022 support from them completely. So what am I to do? Do I want to make a split? That's kind of a lot of work for 30 extensions. I don't really want to go there. And so I've come to the conclusion that for the majority of these extensions, I'm going to do something that you can choose to do as well. It is the easy way out, if you will. But basically what it means is I'm going to drop support for everything lower than 2022. Okay. So practically how that works is that I'm going to make an update to my extension where I'm going to remove the support in the V6 manifest for 2022. And then I'm going to upload that version to the marketplace. And that is now going to be my sort of 2019 and lower version of this extension. And then I'm going to go back into my code, and this time I'm going to only add Visual Studio 2022 support and strip any older versions from that. Then I'm going to upgrade the NuGet package to the Visual Studio 2017 SDK. And then I'm going to change the product ID, the ID of the extension itself. I'm going to give it a new GUID. And when I do that, it becomes a new extension. I'm going to keep the same GitHub repo, everything like that. So what it means is that I have effectively left my 2019 implementation as is. It will never receive any updates going forward, though we can always go back in Git history and do an update if we have to, but I plan on not doing this. This is the type of extensions that don't really change that often, and I don't feel like I need to maintain lower versions of Visual Studio for these. So that's what I'm going to do. And let's go ahead and do that. So,
do you want to see the new intro before we do that?
Yeah, I do.
There we go.
Wow.
All right, you want to see the outro? Here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Production, not only for the stream, but also for these sweet animations. Thanks, PowerPoint.
You can both produce and do stuff like that at the same time. That's impressive.
Thank you.
It really is. Okay. So on my screen, I've got Image Optimizer. You may know this extension. It is fairly popular. I'm now gonna. This is so I have a list here. This is the list I got from Tina saying all these claim to work in Visual Studio 2022, yet they are using some of the old APIs that are no longer backwards compatible or forwards compatible rather. So this is the long list of things that I need to update. Unfortunately, we have a V6 synchronizer in here, which I have to do sooner rather than later. It's kind of important. But I did add new file. I did that earlier this week, and now I'm going to do Image Optimizer. I'm going to take them from the top kind of and go down. So, but today we're just going to do one. We're going to do Image Optimizer. So let's start at the beginning. We are going to drop support for 2022. And that's what we got right here. Let's see, should we make it a little larger? Okay, so this right here tells Visual Studio or the marketplace that it supports version 17, which is 2022. So I'm going to nuke that like this. So now I no longer support 2022. And let's get that in there. So removed VS 2022 support. It's kind of sad, isn't it? Okay. And then we push that through. And in a moment, that's going to show up here on the V6 gallery, and I can then upload that to, where is that? What's it called? Image Optimizer? Image Optimizer here. So we can take a look at that in a second. Now, that is cool. We now have kind of dropped support for 2022. That means I can now start doing the opposite. Drop support for everything but 2022. Go here. So now it's only supporting 2022, right? And for this one, I actually want to give it a new name. And what I like to do is to call this 64-bit. Let's look at it here. It looks better this way. Let me zoom in. So what I like to do when I create something that only works for, if I have to split an extension or have an extension specifically for 2022, is that I like to put 64-bit like this. In the beginning, I just did like this. Image optimizer 2022. Now, the problem with that, I feel like, is that what about when Visual Studio 2024 comes out, or whatever the next version is going to be, right? Then it automatically seems old. Or when the year turns into 2023, if my extension has the name with 2022 in it, it seems old. So I like 64-bit. It sounds kind of cool, right? It sounds like, I don't know, modern maybe. I don't know. So that's what I'm going with. And then of course we have to, when we're doing stuff like that, we have to update the ID. You have to give it a new ID. What happened to my insert GUID? Where's my insert GUID? I can't believe it. I must have uninstalled it. So GUID generator. Let's just do it here. Generate some GUIDs. Yes, thank you. I used to do this all the time before I created the insert GUID extension. And I can't believe I don't have it installed. Maybe
Good question from Surly here. What about using the VS version number rather than 2022?
Well, yes, you can do that, but that is also gonna. Well, hang on, it is right here. No, so you could totally do that. You could totally use the Visual Studio version number, like 17.0, let's say. But then when 18.0 comes out, then your 17.0 was gonna. Well, it's a lot better because most people don't know that Visual Studio 2022 is called 17.0. I don't know. If that's what you like, I think that's cool. But I really prefer 64, but I think it sounds more modern. Personal preference.
How about this one from HD Sonics? Please add new file. Please add new file, which is funny because add new file needs support for 2022. Make it happen. Is that on your list? Add new file?
It's there.
Okay. There it is, people.
It is. It has been ported. Let's see here. Marketplace, Visual Studio.com. It's actually going to replace this one. But if we search for add new file, it's going to find a bunch of stuff. Add new file, 64-bit. Boom. It just came out. Let's see here. Released on 9/28. What is that? 3 days ago? 2 days ago? Yeah. So very new. It's right here. And I did exactly with that what I'm doing with the image optimizer right now. Okay, so we did two things in image optimizer, right? We created a new ID and we updated the title. The last thing we have to do is to go in and update the Visual Studio SDK. We're targeting 15, which is Visual Studio 2017. And we're just going to go with the latest pre-release. We're still in pre-release, right? We don't have a 17.0 GA, but we do have like preview 4 is the latest. So we're just going to grab that and update our Visual Studio SDK to that version. And now that we're here and updating, we're going to update our build tools as well to the latest. Oh, we actually have a stable version here that's newer than the preview. So this might be done. That's cool. Okay, so now we got that done. Gonna accept that. And let's just check out that AppVer is doing. It has to use 2019. It doesn't technically have to, but I like to update that, make sure it does that. That's my CI server. So now, can we build? Can we build? We should be able to. Let's take a look. Let's get to the bin directory. Oh, rebuild all failed. What do you mean env DTE doesn't work? What do you mean it's not there? Using, oh, that's an error? Okay, so I have some editor config rules that says these should be errors. Let's not do that. How do you do that? Configure severity. No, for style analyzers. Really? Do I really have an editor config that says that? I feel like that's a little bit draconian.
I don't think you have an editor config in there, right?
No, but I
Maybe
might have one in my
root right there. Rasmus also says, do you need to update the prereq min version as well in the manifest?
No.
No.
Like this is just, I find this is a stupid thing, right? So it says you need at least 15. So if you install on 17, there is no chance that you're not going to have, that you're having 15. You're going to have at least 17. We could say 17, but it's kind of redundant. Like, yeah, for completeness, we could do that. We could do that. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Okay, code style.
Don't forget you can search up there.
Yeah. So using, right? Using statement. There was something about using.
Boom.
Where is it?
Error.
No, but is it prefer using direct outside namespace? Has nothing to do with the. Can I search for the actual error? Where is it?
Gotta put it back.
Does it tell me? Here. 0246. Can I just search for that?
That'd be cool. Oh, maybe it's under analyzers, not in the code.
Oh.
I bet it's using in there. No?
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and suppress configure. Oh no, 005. IDE 005 is what it's called. Okay, that's just kind of frustrating. So we're gonna suppress. We're gonna configure this one to silent. No, none. There we go. Please don't be an error. But this is different. Now it's different. It couldn't find env DTE. Why can it not find it? Because it's not there. Why is it not in the SDK? Oh, that's weird. So Visual Studio Interop? That's not part of ULA Interop. This one. No, not ULA Interop. There should just be one call. Is it Shell Interop? But why is it not part of the one that's already installed? This is so weird. If can I get the DTE 100? Okay, let's just get that for 17. So there might be something wrong with that NuGet package version. Okay, here, Microsoft Visual Studio Interop. That's the one I was talking about. So that should fix it up. Let's see. It didn't though. Did it? No. This is bizarre to me. Framework. So is this because we don't have we don't compile against 472? Aha. This might be what it is. James, I'm not looking at any incoming questions today. Are you?
I've been monitoring.
Okay.
Thindle asks how you're doing today.
Thank you. I'm doing good. I just came over a cold, actually.
Oh no. Mafalia asks, what's going on?
That is a good question. That is a good question.
Mads broke everything. That's what happened.
You see what happened here? It actually did not install that NuGet package. See, why is it not showing up here? Isn't that weird?
It was there, wasn't it?
It was there. And then it doesn't show, nothing shows up over here as if, see, this is the right, yeah. So it didn't actually properly install that. So there was a bug. So I'm going to remove, this one is no longer needed. And I can probably then upgrade to the latest again here. And it will just ask me to update and accept all those different packages. Yes, there we go. There's an error message here that didn't happen. That should have happened, huh? Okay, so now we resolve the DTE. Everyone's happy. Let's go check it out. What I always do and what I recommend you do is that when you changed, oh, what is all that stuff? Why is it a gig or a megabyte? Let's figure out why it's a megabyte. Oh yeah, no, it's an image optimizer. It packs all those tools. Yeah. So always before you upload this to the marketplace, just run the V6 installer by just clicking on it. And you want to do that because it will tell you whether or not it identifies it as being able to install on the right version. And this one does say Visual Studio 2022. So yes, this is good. The reason I recommend you do this is that I've done several times where I'm sure it's just going to work. And then I forgot something, like I forgot the prerequisite, like someone was mentioning here, right? Where it was too high, right? It was set to 17, but it should have been 15 or something like that. Something I didn't really notice. So always just double click and check. Okay, so now that seems to work. So I should be able to just say added support for VS 2022. And commit and push. And let's take a look and see if our the first one we did is here. Yep, image optimizer. So this is the one where we drop support for VS 2022. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit this. Upload the new one, image optimizer here. And now that I'm in here, I'm just going to copy all this content that I have right here. The description, copy. So that I can upload a new extension and just paste that in. I think that I'm just going to put this here. I'm just going to paste it in to my text file here so I have it. All right. So we can actually go ahead and see build failing. Should only be done on the main thread. That's okay. Warning, warning. The type or namespace name compressor could not be found. Image optimizer test. Oh, we didn't run a test. It's because this one probably also has to now be couldn't find it. Okay, weird. So this one also has to be 472. So we retarget that. And I wonder if now maybe it will work. Let's rebuild the whole solution. See, that's what I should have done. I didn't do that. I just did the one project. Well, let's see. All right, now it actually went ahead and built. Let's just run the unit tests. James, as you might have noticed, it is not something I usually have in my extension projects, unit tests. But
I was going to say that's your first problem is that you had unit tests. So, But look at this new runner. While we're waiting for this test to run, Mophelia asked if there's any news on C, C++ side of things in VS 2022.
Yes, there is. There's a bunch of new things. OMG. There's the ability to run and deploy on Linux. So you're sitting there on your Windows machine, and you can now hit F5 to your VC Proj or what's it called? CMake project, and you can actually execute that and debug, but it's running under WSL2 on Linux, right? So really amazing stuff. It's also much faster when it comes to like indexing IntelliSense and all that sort of stuff, like significantly faster. There's great improvements in C++ for all those things. I'm usually not as knowledgeable about the C++ side of Visual Studio simply because I'm a .NET person myself. But those are the things that I remember that were kind of significant. Yeah.
I feel like we need someone from that side of the world to come over and be like, the Hacking Visual Studio C++ edition. Like, what does that look like? Yeah.
Right. That would be a good idea. We could get Nick or Marion or Sai. Sai's is in London, so time zones might not work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that runs. So let's see if where's our here CI build is running here. Any other questions?
I don't know. Fuel is asking about C++ AMP. I don't even know what that is.
Did you say AMP?
AMP.
No, I don't know what that is either.
I don't know either.
No.
Fuel says there's an underrated awesome feature in VS, which is column selection that allows you to select beyond the end of line. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
Is that box selection? Like this here thing? Nope.
Oh. How you do that?
Is this what you mean?
I don't know, Fuel. How you do that?
Just hold down Alt. And
then what does it do?
It's called box selection.
Yeah, but what are you selecting?
So here, for instance, I'm selecting these 4 lines. I'm selecting the text that's right in here. There's nothing. So if I do this and I copy this is all white space. There's no characters here where my cursor is right now. So there's nothing there. But of course, there is other places in my selection. But it's called box selection.
You know what you need? An extension where you use box selection and then it takes a screenshot of your code. Or is there an extension that you can select your code and then it puts it in that really cool, like, code editor window that like Fowler does or whatever when he puts snippets of code?
The interactive window or the...
No, just like it makes a PNG. You know what I mean? Like of your code snippet.
Oh, that's a good one for the community. So I do, so should I make a selection and then hit a
button? Yeah.
And then there's a screenshot?
Yeah, it's like a screenshot, but then or you could just highlight the code, right? Imagine you go into your cache.cs. Here's what I'm thinking. Everyone can tell me if this is a good idea or not. Okay. So like highlight the constructor, and then it's like Control-Shift-P, right? And then that creates an image, but with like, the window that has like the code highlighted and it's like a PNG, and then you can tweet that photo of that code.
You mean the entire window?
No, just of like that code snippet.
Oh, so nothing else is shown in the editor?
Yeah.
But when you say the window, you don't mean the Chrome of Visual Studio?
Yeah, let me see if I can. Keep going. I'll find a website that does this.
Okay. So anyway, we can now see we have Image Optimizer 64-bit, which, did I already download that? No, so let me download that. And so now, let's see here. If okay, so the one we just uploaded has been verified, so that's now live. And we can upload a net new extension. So this is a brand new extension, right? It has this ID. I changed it. It's brand new. So it shouldn't complain about collision of GUIDs. Nope, it didn't. And so this is Image Optimizer 64. 64-bit? 64-bit, yeah. And let's paste something in. That was what I copied before. So if we take a preview, you can see everything here resolves just as before. And the website here is the GitHub repo. I need that for what? For this field right here. It's free and tagged. We want image. We want zip. We want compression. We want optimization. Something like that. And what categories are we talking about? I'm thinking, yeah, probably web is relevant for web. It's relevant for extensions, I'd say. It's relevant for, where's the other? Half of my extensions are like in the other category. Okay, so let's just go ahead. So what is the problem with doing what I'm doing? It is that I now have, look at this. My original image optimizer has 500,000 downloads and 69 ratings. My new one for 2022 has 0 and 0, right? So this does not come without some consequences.
This is the age-old dilemma of, hey, I created an app on the App Store and now I have a second version, but I'm changing the pricing model. I'm doing something significant where I want a new version, but I've wiped away 5 years of good faith with my customers. Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yeah, it's a hard one, but they have said on the marketplace that they're going to provide that feature where you can have multiple extensions under the same ID, so it's not separate. They share the download count and the or the install count and the ratings and everything. But we don't have that yet.
All right, I got the website. Control T, new tab. Ready?
Yeah. No, I'm not.
All right. Carbon.now.sh. That's what I'm saying. Like, boom.
Boom. What?
Just see how you could see that's an image, and then you can export it as an image. But
this
imagine
this is not an image.
I know, but it isn't. But like, do export. Top right. See, like you can turn it into a PNG.
So what do I do? Download? Oh, click the PNG button.
Yeah. See, now you got a PNG. So imagine if you select code in Visual Studio, and it's like, boom, check out how beautiful this is. But it's like a Visual Studio Chrome around it. I'm not saying to steal carbon.now.sh, but imagine if that was inside of Visual Studio. No? Yeah? I think it's amazing.
No. It's not a bad idea at all. I do screenshots all the time of code.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting challenge, right? Because, but totally doable, obviously, because it's code and everything is doable in code. But right here, the selection, it's selected. It has a blue background. You don't want the background.
No.
So probably if you want to do what you're doing, you probably would take, and you would do this hidden, I guess, like loaded in a hidden WPF control. But you may want to host the editor with the same content type, so you get colorization.
Yeah.
Right. So you may have to do a little bit of a sort of a dance, or you can really quickly, create a new file, paste it in, don't select anything, take a screenshot, close it down, and you can, or something, you can do stuff. Or in here, you can copy this, you can take this, copy this, delete everything, paste it in, take your screenshot, undo.
You don't get the highlighting though. See, like the nice thing here, if you did it in Visual Studio, you would get your exact Visual Studio.
No, you do get the highlighting. This is the highlighting.
Well, the cache isn't.
No, you're right. It's because it has to be inside a class. It's semantically incorrect.
Exactly.
It's syntactically correct, but semantically incorrect.
Yeah. Challenge.
Oh.
I'm just saying it'd be super useful.
Absolutely. But did you see what happened?
What happened?
So I have an extension installed that does something for me that otherwise always bothers me. Let's say I want to copy this method and send it in an email. Okay, so what normally happens is you copy this, and now you have like weird indentation, right? Because the way I do it is so annoying. But check this out. I'm going to paste it in here. What? Do I not have that extension either? Jeez.
Whatever that extension is, I need it because I always do that into blog posts and it always messes it up.
Yeah, it's tweaks.
Oh, it is tweaks.
Yeah. Oh, it's disabled. Okay. So for some reason I disabled it. Oh yeah, I was chasing down like some issues I had, like why doesn't this work properly? And I ended up like basically disabling everything, and it looks like I didn't enable everything back again. That one actually can stay disabled for now. Everything else, yeah, we're good. Okay. So that's how that works. And let's take a look and see here if our extension, yep. So it's not public. We're going to mark it public. Yes, I verify that is okay. And we now have a 64-bit image optimizer. Yay!
Have there been any changes to the marketplace as far as like putting stuff into the marketplace? Have you talked about how that process works? Because I've done it.
There were updates on The initial upload, when you upload an extension, there's an initial check to see whether or not it does some correct things, and they can either produce errors or warnings. So an example of things to check for is that if your extension uses autoload and you don't have an async package, it flags that, and you can see like sort of warning messages. And a new one I discovered was something to do with 64-bit, like in your installation target and your v6 manifest. If you claim that you're supporting 17, like Visual Studio 2022, but you forget to add the 64-bit target platform, a child element in that XML file, it will call that out, and I think it's actually an error. It won't let you proceed. So there has been some updates to that with 2022 support, but otherwise I don't think, or I don't know of any other. I haven't seen any other changes. So if there has been any, there might have been sort of infrastructure changes, but nothing visible.
Gotcha.
Yep. All right. What else do we have? Snipping Tool. Stian says Snipping Tool. Yeah.
I still use the Snipping Tool.
Oh man, all the time.
You use the new Snipping Tool.
Yeah.
I use the old Snipping Tool.
The new one is fantastic, and I use it all the time. And if I may, so the way I do it is, Shift Windows S, right, and then you can like grab something. And the way I have it set up is that it always just copies to the clipboard, but then it shows me here. So if I want to tag it up, I'll just click it, and then I just put new batteries in my pen, so I don't actually know if this works. Or if it needs to like reconnect or something. Let's try it. It needs to reconnect. Why doesn't it just do that? Okay. Anyway, I can then tag it up right here, and then Control C to copy it, and then paste it in my email or whatever I want to do.
You know my new favorite thing? Do you know about Edge? Going to Edge.
Oh, where are we? We're here.
And then triple dot, top right.
Oh. I'm typing 3 dots. I'm like, what accessibility feature is this?
Web capture, Control Shift S. You can capture full page or anything on there.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it can do like the full page, right? So if you have a full page, and then capture full page.
That is nice. So it renders the whole thing and then it screenshots it.
Yeah.
See, this is kind of curious, right? Because it does the same thing. It has to like do a separate window in order to take a screenshot of the entire thing.
Yeah.
So, and then you can draw, you can erase. Yeah, that's nice. There has been a few times in my life, maybe 2 or 3, where I needed a screenshot of an entire web page where my monitor wasn't tall enough to have the whole thing.
Yeah, that's true. I do have a landscape or a portrait monitor. I should just put it over there.
You have it on the tall side. Yeah.
Laka says you can capture a screenshot of an element from the DOM Explorer. Oh, that's kind of cool. Actually, I didn't know that.
In Edge?
I guess, yeah.
All right, so let's take here, this one. Let's just inspect this. Here. Okay, so now we're here. I can right click. Focus. Batch. What is a batch in this setting? I don't know.
I don't know how to do it.
Capture node screenshot.
Ooh, what? Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Hey, so this is kind of interesting. So it literally just figures out the coordinates, top, right, bottom, all this sort of stuff. Because notice that there's another element that just positioned itself on top of it. So it doesn't take a screenshot of just this one. It just takes a screenshot off the screen containing those coordinates.
That's interesting.
That's what it looks like.
Fuel just says
probably fine for like most of the time.
Yeah, Fuel just says print to PDF. When in doubt.
When in doubt. Someone's desktop doesn't support Windows 11. That is too bad. I got a Service Laptop 3. It works fine.
Mine doesn't, so I got to get a new processor.
Oh, well, these days that's going to be cheap and arrive just tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I've been due for a full rebuild, anyways. But
you should ask Damian Edwards to build you one if you're going to do that.
Yeah,
Or you could choose to ask him if you wanted to. He's geeking out over that big time.
I probably need to. I've been in the mode. I'm in black and white mode because I had OBS open. But I like the vignette that's happening here. I've been in the mode of needing to, but then I also have like 18 laptops that all support Windows 11. So it's like, I just got one. So
Okay.
it'll happen. I'll get annoyed that everybody else has Windows 11 and then I don't. So then I'll need it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think like our inaugural episode here is going to be one of the shorter ones because the topic was kind of short. Do anyone have any questions about the whole DTE thing and the incompatibility in general between 2019 and 2022? Why that is, and just any questions in that aspect? I would be happy to talk about this. Yes, he's building David Fowler's right now. You can follow it on Twitter. He's an absolute nerd and geek when it comes to building big powerhouse workstations. It's really fun to follow.
I'm looking back up here, see if we got anything else. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we got it. It was that good. Everything was answered as it was delivered.
Nailed it.
So I hope it's useful to some people to say, okay, how can we sort of very cheaply, without splitting our extension, support 2022 and do it in a way that is proper, compatible, and won't cause any issues to end users. And I have, as you can tell, I have a lot of work ahead of me because I have to do this very thing for like 28 more extensions or something like that. And it's going to take me a little while. I really want to do the V6 synchronize. I should do that one next because that one might impact or will impact the you guys, the extenders. So if you have any questions about the V6 cookbook or any ideas, please go to the GitHubs and or on Twitter. Reach out to me on Twitter and we can take the conversation there. Same goes for the toolkit. The toolkit is getting closer and closer to being finalized for its first official release. Go out of as no longer pre-release. So go check out the V6 community on GitHub and see what the toolkit is doing. Any ideas for future shows or guests that we should invite in? Tell us about that as well, me or James. We'll be happy to invite whoever it might be, whether it's like engineers that work on specific things that you find interesting, or you want to hear more broadly from other like maybe more well-known community type celebrities or whatever in the Visual Studio org, like Amanda Silver or something like that. Maybe we can convince her to come on and talk about something one day. Anyway, here's something. Will we see integration between the extensions in VS Code and those in Visual Studio? We have a little bit, but we won't do a full. It will never be, it will in the foreseeable future, as far as we can see out in the future, it will not happen. But there are a few things that are shared between the two and that we as extenders can use. So for instance, all of Visual Studio Code themes, there's a tool that can convert that to a Visual Studio theme. That was just released. Go check out the Visual Studio blog. And Grace has a couple of blog posts on that came out like in September, like very recently. So themes can now be ported from VS Code to VS super, super easily. I'll be doing a video on that. I'll actually write an extension for that. I think we should do that next week. And then there's other things like the like TextMate for syntax highlighting is supported on both sides. And there's a few other things I feel like, but not really. The APIs are just completely incompatible. One is in JavaScript or in TypeScript, and the other is in managed code, right? So just by nature, completely different. Would it be possible to make an extension that removes the search box at the top of Visual Studio, since it cannot be removed from settings? Yeah, sure, you can do that. You could do that with any UI element, not just the search box. You can make anything disappear if you want to, or you can inject any other SAML in anywhere you want it to show up in the IDE. There is no there's no API for this, so you have to figure out how to do this on your own. But it's WPF, and WPF is kind of a hierarchy of controls. So you can just walk the control hierarchy. You can figure out where you can use Snoop or something like that to figure it out, or simply just hit F5. Actually, when you have the experimental instance, you can see the live tree inside Visual Studio, the live SAML view or whatever it's called when you debug, because you have a debugger attached to Visual Studio. So there's different ways you can figure out and go down the tree and figure out what control you want. And once you have an instance of that control, you can say visibility equals collapsed, and done deal. That's it. Do I recommend you do that? No. But if you don't want to look at it, go to developercommunity.visualstudio.com right now. Developercommunity.visualstudio.com. Actually, let me see if I can find it, because we do have a ticket for it. There's someone that already suggested that feature, if you want to call it a feature, that you should be able to hide the search box in Visual Studio. So yeah, go vote for that. Go vote for that. Give comments. All right. What else? We got from Raymond. Are you aware of a Git flow plugin for 2019? The developer seems to have some trouble finding the right entry point for it in 2020. So it's not posted yet. Can you help him out a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know Git flow. I don't know who wrote it, but yeah, I'm totally willing to help anyone who needs help porting their extensions to 2022. If they hit a wall, we want to help them, especially Git flow. Git flow is just a cool flow anyway. So
you have them come on the show, fix it live together. Boom.
There you go. Yeah, so Raymond, if you want a broker connection between me and him, I'll be happy to help out. Whoever wrote it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So James, any last words before we wish everybody a good weekend?
No, I really wish that I would have made a cool outro, but I didn't. I mean, I do have new music, so that's cool.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I really like that music. Thanks for doing that.
You're welcome. Cool. Exclusive just for you. I think this is great. I'm excited for where this will go.
Should we promote the .NET conference?
Ooh, yeah, let's do that, and then we'll come back. Here we go. Everyone stick around.
Save the date for .NET Conf 2021, November 9th through the 11th for the .NET 6 launch. .NET Conf is our annual free 3-day virtual developer event co-organized by the .NET community and Microsoft, sponsored by the .NET Foundation and our ecosystem partners. For 3 days, you'll learn from featured speakers from the community and .NET teams at Microsoft, talking about .NET 6, C#10, Azure, Visual Studio, and more. This is your chance to learn, ask questions live, and get inspired for your next software project. We've got wall-to-wall content for web, mobile, cloud, desktop, games, services, libraries, and a variety of platforms and devices, all with .NET. Everyone is going to learn something, no matter if you're just beginning or you're a seasoned engineer. Don't delay. Head to www.netconf.net. That's .netconf.net to learn more and tune in.
Wow. Yeah. Jeff Fritz voiced that over. Wow, it's like his trailer voice.
Yeah, it's like it really is. Tonight on CNBC. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
It's kind of a little cartoonish. Yeah. I love it. It was really good. Yeah. We got one. There's one more question. From Andre? Is there a GitHub Copilot for Visual Studio? So if you don't know what Copilot is, everybody out there, Copilot is that thing that when you're using GitHub Codespaces or something like that, that will, as you start typing a new method, it will basically write the entire method for you based on thousands of repos, what it can kind of deduct that you're going to do, and then it will just present like that in kind of like in an IntelliSense type of thing. So, okay, I'll just write the entire method for you. So in Visual Studio, we have IntelliCode that can do whole line completion, and they were helping out the Copilot team back and forth on this, and there might be something in the future for Visual Studio, but yeah, there's actually been a very nice collaboration between IntelliCode and the GitHub Copilot teams because it's very related, right? They're kind of solving the same kind of problems. So no, not yet. Will it be there? I don't actually know. I would assume so, but I don't know in what form. Like, is the first version of Copilot is now out, but is that the right? Does it solve the problem the best way, or are there tweaks needed, or should we rethink some things? And I think once that's sort of ironed out, then maybe it's going to come to Visual Studio. I don't see why not. But that's something we could ask Mark Wilton Thomas from the IntelliCode team to come on and talk to us about. If people want to know more about that, would actually be fun. James, if we bring Mark Wilson Thomas on, because then we can talk about AI, machine learning, writing features for Visual Studio, because one of the big challenges for IntelliCode is how can you make predictions and present to users what they may want to do without being annoying or irrelevant, right? That's a super hard balance, and that's, we as extension authors, we face that very often, where we don't want to be in people's faces, yet we want to present some possibilities or some features at the right time for users. So that could be kind of an interesting thing to talk about with Mark. Let's get him on and geek out on that. All right, Wirtzak says, can Visual Studio become open source? Hang on. So we get this question all the time. Not all the time, but pretty frequently. Let's rewind a little bit. Why do you want to have something to be open source? What would be the purpose of letting Visual Studio be open source? I think it would be such that users, such as yourself, developers, can look at the source code and can make modifications and send pull requests, right? Work together with the Visual Studio team, expand on the capabilities, shape the future for Visual Studio in a much more direct way. Now, in order for you to contribute to any open source project, you have to be able to run that program. Otherwise, you can't see that whatever code changes you made actually worked, right? Now, Visual Studio is pretty big. I forget how it is, but I think the source code is 6 GB. That's just text files, right? That's C# files, C++ files, that sort of stuff. And it is not in a state where you can simply just F5 the source code and it builds and it starts running Visual Studio. So I don't think, personally, that it makes any sense whatsoever to make Visual Studio open source, simply because no one will be able to contribute. And but the other benefit is that the source open benefit, where you can look at the source, use it as a reference. That's cool. I think that could be interesting. A bunch of Visual Studio is actually already open source, so there's already a bunch of references out there for us extenders to look at. Like Roslyn is a great example, right? But I don't know how much we would gain from looking at like 20-year-old C++ code or something like that. I don't know if that's going to confuse more than it's going to benefit anyone. But I think that's the reason why it hasn't happened, because there's not really a point to it when you can't run Visual Studio. Once we get to a state where Visual Studio you can build and run Visual Studio from Visual Studio, let's say, then it makes sense. Absolutely. And then I think we should do it. But that's personal opinion. Caveat. Disclaimer. We need a little banner at the bottom that says opinion piece only, not Microsoft official statement. Oh, nice. It's like, yeah, that'd be great if you could convert that to .NET 6. Yeah, James, exactly. But check out Wirtzak here. He's extending his help here. He could just convert to .NET 6. Yep.
Do it.
That'd be great. That's not going to be like now that we're 64-bit. James, what do you think? Converting from .NET Framework 4.7.2 to .NET 6, what's it going to be? Like a weekend?
Yeah, try
How long-
Convert Tool.
How long? Yeah.
.NET
There-
Upgrade Assistant.
Yep. .NET upgrade. So, yeah, that can't take long.
Yeah, just have Kathy come on and do it.
Yeah. Kathy Sullivan, is that who you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, she owns that tool. It's a great tool.
It is. And did you know the portability analyzer is actually hosted on the V6 Gallery?
I did not know that.
V6gallery.com. So Microsoft is using V6 Gallery. So what's it called? Portability. I can't spell porta.
Oh, there's Nano Framework. We just had them on. That's cool. Ooh.
Microsoft.
Oh.
This is an official Microsoft thing, and they're using the V6 Gallery for their stuff. Isn't that cool?
Look at that. Wow.
Yeah. I think that's cool.
I think you're cool.
Oh, thank you, James. I think you're cool.
There's a good question for you. How much VB6 code is in VS? Well, it says VS code base, but maybe VS code base. Is there VB code in VS?
I think there is, yeah.
Yeah. There's VB code and everything.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the VB stuff is written in VB. James, I never remember if the VB compiler is actually written in VB. It might not be.
Rosalind's written in
C#.
C#.
Yep.
Yeah. The C# compiler compiles itself, written in C# to compile itself.
Yes.
File.
It's very meta.
It's very meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there's a circular reference that at some point it's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It's like when I tell people that Visual Studio 2022 was built using Visual Studio 2022.
Yeah.
Which is true.
It's true.
It's called dog fooding, everybody.
Yeah.
Dog fooding. We're eating our own dog food here in Developer Revision. F# is written in F#. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Is that did Don Syme write the first compiler? Was that how it was in F#? I think so, right?
I think so. Ooh, this is a great question from Celocan. They're studying computer science. They want to try being a front-end web developer. What are our suggestions for beginners? I'm studying JavaScript. JavaScript runs is out there. It's not bad.
That's a good question. So starting computer. So now I'm trying to be a front-end engineer. Okay. Yeah, because you don't learn to program by going to take a computer science degree, right? That's something you do on the side or after the fact. If you want to be really good at, let's say, React on using TypeScript or whatever.
Well, I studied computer science in college. Or they were a civil engineer. I see. Oh, interesting. I did computer science, but then that's like in the Haskell and the assembly. Like, here's how it works under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Low level, high level developer.
Right. Well, I can say what works for me, and then James, maybe you can say what works for you when you were a beginner, or when you are a beginner in something new you want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's very simple. I have to do something that I have to use the thing I'm going to learn about for something real world. So, like sitting down to learn something just to learn it, I can't do it. So that would mean, for instance, if you want to learn something about JavaScript and you want to learn front end, so let's say you want to use React.js or Vue.js or something like that. Oh, let me build a to-do app just so that I can familiarize myself with it. That doesn't help me because I have no skin in the game. I don't go deep enough. I don't test the boundaries of that. I don't want to improve beyond, I don't want to improve the app that I'm building beyond sort of my initial goal. But if I had something I wanted to ship, so let's say that you always wanted to build a website for your sister's cupcake company, right? Whatever. Then use that new tool you don't know how to use, that you want to learn how to use. That's how I would do it, because otherwise I can't motivate myself, and I'm not going to learn nearly as much, not even like 10% as much as I would otherwise. So
yeah, it's a good question. I mean, obviously I'm a C# developer, so I'm a little biased towards it, but I mean, I learned many languages, and yes, I was thinking assembly as being low level fuel, by the way, or C++. But I think for me, yeah, it's a little bit hard because I did a lot of Java and C++ in university, and then I stumbled upon C# and I just kind of fell in love with it. And I feel like when you stumble upon a programming language that you really enjoy, then that is the breakaway. Because in most programming languages, you can do different stuff. I mean, in C# you can kind of do anything that you want. I'm not a web developer though. Like I kind of fell into C# writing desktop apps. Then I wrote mobile apps. Now I kind of do a little bit of everything. I do think that there are some, I think Jay was saying here, like the Angular Tour of Heroes is a good tutorial. It just depends on how you learn. I think that nowadays it depends. Do you learn via YouTube? Do you learn via a plural site, the hands-on out there, or just jump into it? I do like Mads' approach, which is like, I'm just going to go off and do it. But the question is like, how do you find the thing that you want to use, right? Like, how do you find if you want to use TypeScript or JavaScript or Node or React or whatever? That's a little bit trickier. I feel like you almost have to do the hello world in each of them and be like, how do the tools work? How does it feel typing with it? You know, does it speak your language? I think that's the thing for C#, at least it's always spoken to me and I've understood it really well. I don't know if that really helps. I just put a bunch of links in there too for a bunch of resources, like to ASP.NET, to Blazor, to the 101 videos. There's a bunch of good stuff in there from at least our side of things, what .NET gives you. But I will say this, final thought, closing thought from James in Noir Mode. I think it's really good to learn the base level first. Okay. And what do I mean by that? Well, you could jump in to like all the fancy new JavaScript libraries, or you could do React or Vue or all this other stuff. But at some point you're going to need to know the JavaScript stuff, right? Like that stuff's important. So you probably want to like learn some basics there. Or if I'm doing ASP.NET, I may not jump into Blazor first. I might start with MVC and kind of do a tour of that a little bit of like, here's the baseline before I start building up these other layers. I always thought that was a good strategy, but I don't know.
Is that just in theory that's a good idea?
Well, that's my theory. This is James' opinion.
Right. The reason I'm asking is because, you know, the way I learned writing JavaScript, and this could be true for any language or whatever, but that was how I got into development. And it was because I looked at how people implemented stuff, you know, view source and see this is back in the 90s. You would just view source and you could see the JavaScript people did for their dynamic HTML, like DHTML type of stuff, where you had like spinning things, and it was old days, right? And so it was because I wanted to do something, and it wasn't necessarily because I needed to understand the base level, but it kept me motivated because by kind of just without knowing why it worked, I could kind of make cool stuff that I thought was cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then eventually, slowly, I started learning more about this, and I got interested, and I got deeper and deeper as time went on. But I kept my motivation high early because I focused on being productive, if you will, and actually get things done.
Yeah, like I think the very first CMS I used was an open source CMS thing. It was called Gray Matter, and it was all a PHP big application. I didn't know any programming, and I figured out how to run scripts and get it running. And then I think just exploring the code is what I did. So there might be some like really fun open source projects. There's so much open source now. You can find some open source websites and samples and things like that. And you can run through those and just poke around at it and just see if you can get it running, and then start modifying some stuff to how you like it. And then there's tons of training online nowadays. Right. But I like the poking around. That's what I used to do. I was like 13 years old, just got my first computer, and I'm just like, oh, how does this thing work? You know, I think I was a Lego kid. I don't know if you're a Lego. I just bought the new Nintendo 64 Mario block Lego. Just came out as the most amazing thing ever.
Oh,
anyways,
okay.
I'll share it with you later after this.
I have a lot of Lego, the most of the Lego I've got is from like when I was a kid, and my kids are playing with it. It's in their playroom. So that's the extent of my Lego endeavor.
Like this, Andre asks, this is a good question. Can we create a VS extension using Maui for Mac and Windows? That's a good question. There have been, for Xamarin Forms at least, well, .NET Maui is going to be in preview for a little bit longer. But for Xamarin Forms, there was a WPF community project, and you could build technically a WPF app, right? And you could bundle it into it. So it was definitely possible. Javier totally did that. And he did, and he bundled up things for that based on what your needs are. Depends. Like if you have like a pop-up window, right, you could do that. But
well, hang on. Can you, if you can host Maui inside WPF, can you? Like a Maui island, if you will?
Yeah, I think there'll still be a WPF community flavor to it. Yes. So squeeze because like it'll create a WinUI 3 application. So you can the question becomes, can you host a WinUI 3 application inside of a?
Yes. So if you inside WPF running on .NET Framework 4.7.2, let's say.
That's the question.
I forget. Is Visual Studio 2022? Is that 4.8 or 4.7.2?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
How do I check? I can easily check. It's just
I like Fuel though. VX extensions and Blazor. WebView 2. I wouldn't see why not.
It is 4.8, by the way. I just checked.
Yeah,
again, it's the same thing. Like we can put it on the wish list. Obviously, when Visual Studio sometime in the future is going to be running on .NET 6, 7, 8, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It'll be Maui. You'll be able to do Maui because it runs on .NET 6. So I assume that would be the case. That would be the official UI story, which would be fantastic. And then that means that whatever SAML you have will also be able to run on VS for Mac, right? Just like the editor APIs are the same, and you just bundle them up. You still have two different extensions. You don't have one extension that will install at both places because they install differently. They hook into things differently. They register themselves and services differently. But all the shared assets can now include the UI layer.
Yeah, well, I need a transition that's after hours with Mads.
What is it?
Because it's like opinions by Mads.
I'm looking into the crystal ball.
Down the road.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not like a yeah. There's no. If we don't have a yes, I'm just hypothesizing that at some point in the future we're gonna be on .NET Core or .NET 10, whatever. I don't know.
I got one for you. We got to help Patrick here. Patrick asks, is there a way to make Solution Explorer to select a file? I'm currently using a keyboard command, or do I have to buy ReSharper? I'm going to bring up your monitor.
That's going to be a very expensive. That's going to be a very expensive purchase just to do that.
Is there a way to make Solution Explorer select a file? I'm currently using a keyboard.
So here now I have cache.cs is open.
Yeah.
But it's not. You see here the selection when I change does not change over here. So right now let me just select so we can all see it. The project is selected in Solution Explorer. So now if I want cache to be selected, find a Solution Explorer, I can do that. So I just go into Tools Options, Keyboard, and then we're going to find it. What's it called? Find it in Solution Explorer. What is it called? It's called Synchronize. What is the command called? Sync with active document. But that is not exactly the same. So this is one I've done. Find a Solution Explorer. I don't think it's calling what does it do? Find in Solution. File, find a Solution Explorer. But I feel like that comes from my extension. Okay, so let's do the active file instead. What was it called? Sync with active document. Okay. Oh, it actually has a shortcut. Control open bracket Control S. Control. Boom.
Boom.
Control open bracket Control S. Boom. Oh, it's there.
How do we do, Patrick? Is that what you needed? What Seal asks, will I be able to use Task Runner Explorer while I'm in a folder view?
No.
No.
Sorry. At least that's not implemented right now. Will you be able to in the future? Maybe, but not.
Anything is possible.
Yeah. Yes, on a Scandinavian keyboard, I agree. So you can change that keyboard shortcut. You can change any keyboard shortcut. You can do. Here we go. Okay, so you don't like what we call sync with active. Okay, so you don't like that? Well, we just give it another one. We just give it Control Shift F4. Then I can click assign. Boom, and then that's it. it happened to be available. Control Shift F4. That was lucky. Usually my first attempt does not.
Does it tell you if it's like, oh no, you can't use that? It's
Yeah,
like,
let's do a Control S. It says underneath here.
oh.
It will say underneath here that this is a file save, whatever.
Hmm.
So that's how you do it. So Control Shift 0. Oh, am I not? Oh no. Oh. Control Shift.
Oh. Fuel wants a button in VS that suggests a keyboard shortcut.
That's an extension. You can write that as an extension. That actually, you know what? That would be a service. Oh dear. Should we do that? Because it's really hard to find a keyboard shortcut, and oftentimes you want the shortest keyboard shortcut possible, like Control S, right? Obviously that's save, but like Control and then a button. But oftentimes we have to do Control Shift, U X, and that's like, okay, that's not really super easy. So we want as few keys as possible. So we could create an extension that basically just loops through all the key bindings in Visual Studio, and it will then figure out which ones are available, and it can just order them in how simple they are to how complex they are. And that just generates a flat list we can put online as a reference document. So I have an extension that loops. You can use the DTE to get the commands, and then you can get the key bindings. If you look at my extension called Show the Shortcut or Learn the Shortcut, you can get the code. It's like super simple little code. Go check out that, grab that code. It loops through also my voice extension. I forget what it's called, something about voice. It does the same thing. It like finds all the commands and then finds the key bindings. And then it's just a matter of producing a list and sort them by the shortest. Oh. I really like that idea. I would love that. Okay, so wait, DT or DT2? It doesn't matter if you use the DT or DT2 as long as you use the 17.0 NuGet package. Okay, if you want to target both Visual Studio 2019 and 2022, you can use none of them. They're not compatible across that boundary, 2019, 2022 boundary. But they both work on each side. Yeah, sorry for not being clear on that. Okay. James, we don't have any takers for that idea, but
everyone says it's a great idea. So
okay.
All right, I got to go to a meeting, Mads.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you for hanging out with us and for this very first installment of Hacking Visual Studio, with many more to come, hopefully. Am I here next Friday? No, I'm not here next Friday. I forgot. I'm in the mountains again. So it'll be in 2 weeks. Snap. Okay.
Great timing.
So have a great weekend, everybody, and see you on the 15th for another episode. Adios.